Hey, this is Craig Fear with Fearless Eating, and today I'm going to do a review of all of the store-bought seafood stock and seafood broth options that are out there today. And that's pretty much everything right in front of me. This is all 6 of the different seafood stock, seafood broth options you'll find, whether it's in supermarkets, health food stores, or online. I am not aware of any others. I've done extensive searches for anything other than these 6, and I can't find anything else. If you know of anything else, I would be curious if you could put a comment in the comment section. I'd love to see if there's anything that I can't find. But this is pretty much everything. And the reason I'm doing this review today is because I'm starting to get some questions, emails, people asking me, what they can use in place of actually making your own seafood stock. And I'm a big, proponent of making them yourself. This is my new cookbook, New England Soups from the Sea, and has 80 recipes in it for different chowders, bisques, and I really encourage people to learn to make your own fish stock, lobster stock, steaming clams for a clam broth. The flavor is just so superior than anything you can put in a box or a can or a bottle. It's night and day. But I understand we don't always have lobster shells hanging around or, fish carcasses. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea. So this would be your next best option. Well, some of these. And one of them is I think really good. 2 of them, but one in particular. So let me just go through all 6 of these. If you're finding this on YouTube, you can click in the description box the link to my blog, where you can find the links on my blog post to where to purchase these. Again, I found all of these in local stores, but they might not be everywhere, so you might have to purchase them online. But let me start with the 2 that I think are probably in most supermarkets anyway. Now, these are the 2 that I really don't recommend. They're not very good, I don't think. So let me start with the one I'd say just completely avoid. And that's this one, Imagine Seafood Stock. It's just so bland. I mean, I could barely taste any seafood flavor at all in it. And the second one, which I think is a little bit better and has some use, would be Kitchen Basics Seafood Stock. Now these are both have the hallmarks of typical boxed stocks. It's full of flavorings. It's full of vegetable flavoring and natural flavors. These flavorings are they're just what all these boxed, yeast extracts and things like that, MSG. There's actually no MSG in these, but all these boxed products, that's what they use, just to flavor. They're very cheaply made, mass-produced, and these are kind of those 2 things. Now, this one has a little bit more flavor than this one, and so I would say use this one if you're making some, some sort of seafood like paella or a cioppino or a chowder, and you want to use, instead of water, this will probably be a little bit more flavor. And you're just in a pinch. You don't have the time. People are coming over tonight or tomorrow. You don't have the time to make it yourself. This one would be a better choice, Kitchen Basics, than Imagine. But neither of them are real seafood stocks. And so I don't recommend, I don't really recommend. So the next 2 are kind of have some value. I think, let me make sure I get the right one, and are actually decent. And the first would be this Bar Harbor fish stock. I actually opened these and was taste testing them recently, which is okay. It's not it's nothing compared to a real, what you can make it yourself. It's kind of watered down, a very light tasting fish stock, but because of a small portion, it can actually, I think, have some use if you were making a small portion at home and you want to boost the volume of something. Just give it a little bit more liquid volume, whether it's a seafood stew or some soup, chowder you're making at home. I think this is kind of usable. Not terrible, anyway. And then the other one, which is kind of in the same category, it's not great, but has some use, would be this. I don't know if you can see it, but it's another Bar Harbor product. If I can put it closer, I think there's a little glare. Lobster juice. Now, it's not lobster stock, so do not use this in place of a real lobster stock, which is, a very richly flavored, beautiful lobster flavor that you use from the base of things like lobster bisque or another lobster soup. It's a much kind of lighter, version. It's kind of like the clam juice version of lobster. So you might add a little bit for like a lobster pasta, lobster risotto, something like that. And you can use it in place of clam juice too. It's kind of similar, not quite as briny, not quite as strongly flavored as clam juice, but it's okay. And I definitely think this has a use. And then the last two, these are the two that I think are really good. And I'll start with this one, which is, again, the third Bar Harbor product. They're a big company up here in the Northeast. They make a lot of different kind of canned products. I actually think their clam juice is excellent. And I forgot to say that I do have a separate kind of blog post on clam juice, different products, and that's why I didn't include it in this review. But their clam juice is actually quite good, I think. One of the better clam juice products out there. But they also have this seafood stock, and it's actually really good. It has a variety of different seafoods, some wine, some vegetables, and I think this has some good. It's good. I think it's a lot better than their fish stock, actually. And you could actually use this as a base in any sort of seafood soup or stew. Now it's a small, obviously, serving size, so you'd have to kind of purchase if you're going to make it for a larger group of people. I would recommend this one, and this is like my favorite one. I found it somewhat recently, and I'm actually really surprised by how good this is. I'm really impressed, and that is a Netto. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. It's from Spain. They make a bunch of different stocks and broths, but this is their seafood one. A Netto fish broth. This is excellent. I'm really impressed with it. It includes 3 different types of fish, a whole bunch of different vegetables, including fennel. I never see that in any sort of boxed products. And fennel's a great vegetable for seafood. It gives a nice anise flavor to the broths. And no flavorings, no like extracts, none of that stuff. They actually say it right on the back. They really kind of get it. It has a nice color, it has a nice aroma. I don't know how they do it in a boxed product because usually it's hard to do that. It doesn't taste flat, it doesn't taste fishy, it tastes fresh. This is a really good product. So this would be your choice. This would be my first choice if if you're going to make something at home, you want a good background flavor, any sort of seafood stew or fish, fish soup or anything. This could be used as something instead of a homemade version, which is always your best, which is always number one choice. But I get it. Sometimes we just can't get to it. We don't want to do it. It's a little time consuming. This would be number one. I found this in my local health food store. I don't see it in a lot of stores. It is going to cost you a little bit more. Again, you get what you pay for. I think it's worth it though. And you can find it online. I have a link on my blog post. So that's it. That's the 6 types of seafood stocks and broths. Hope you enjoyed it. And I'll see you on the next video.